where we really find out if an age restriction like takes you out of the algorithm. Here's where we'll find out. I bet I would feel a lot more comfortable if I would just wipe my oily ass face. Okay. First, what happened? Sorry, I dipped out for supper. No, that wasn't a dick move of you, Casey. Don't worry about it. Nothing happened. I think like an age restriction got applied to the stream I was doing, and I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious as to whether that kind of age restriction places you in a different algorithm or takes you out of it completely. And so I started a new stream to see if we can get past that, because the old stream was struggling mightily with retaining viewership. People reported it a lot. Yeah, and those mass reports will happen sometimes, but whatever. I still got 8,000 views out of it, so as far as I'm concerned, still a victory. As far as I'm concerned, that's still watch hours, that's still fucking viewership, and, you know, look at you. I mean, it brought you to my channel, it brought Ignis to my channel, it brought, you know, a couple of other people, and ultimately, that I think is the most meaningful progress that I make on a lot of these streams. It's not necessarily that I'm making a shit ton in super chats right now. It's not necessarily that the view count is helping me actively that much. But what that view count does, and what getting exposed to a larger and larger section of the algorithm does, is it exposes people who like my kind of content, who enjoy this type of stream interaction, who enjoy this kind of like format of stream. It brings those people to me and gives them an opportunity to find my content and subscribe, and then eventually we get enough people to where, even if I'm not in the algorithm, people that are just subscribed, there's enough of them around to where we can stay at 100 or so people. And I mean, already we're to the point where that can be possible sometimes. Like, there have been plenty of streams. I mean, I did one stream where I got 50,000 views over the course of like 2 hours, and that was because I retained high viewership throughout it, right? Some of that's my subscriber base, and some of it was the vertical live feed. It peaked at like 179 people. Yeah. And you notice, I noticed, right? The age restriction was set roughly an hour ago on that earlier stream, right? So it was set roughly an hour ago based on the notification I got, and that's about when the viewership started to decline, right? What's up? Not much. Just trying to talk about the news of the day and, whatever's going on in people's heads. This is a chat interactive stream where you are welcome to make the content whatever you want it to be. Whatever you want to talk about is what we will talk about. Not you in particular necessarily, but, anybody in chat is welcome to throw out a topic here, and what we talk about is entirely up to you guys. But I will tell you, the LA riots are heavy on my mind. The protests erupting all across the country are heavy on my mind. And I really do hope that it represents a genuine effort to bring some fucking economic justice to this country. I really fucking hope that the discourse that comes out about this, the discourse that evolves around this issue, leads to some economic awareness, leads to some class awareness amongst people, because that's what's urgently needed. That's what's urgently needed, dude. That alone, class awareness, could have stopped the Republicanization of American politics over the last 30 years. What do you think it will ultimately boil down to in LA? Will we get Tiananmen Square Mark II? Will it be a nothing burger? I'm genuinely interested. Well, I think you've maybe set up a little bit of a false dichotomy. Like, why does it have to be either a nothing burger or Tiananmen Square Mark II? I don't think it's going to be Tiananmen Square Mark II, because that would imply that it's going to be, that whatever happens is going to be memorable enough to be remembered by enough people. It's hard to say what'll happen yet, but here's what we know. We know that the Marines have been deployed to LA. We know that the National Guard deployment has been doubled versus what was originally sent there. We know that people are still protesting in LA. We know that the governor is basically nagging Trump to return control of the troops and everything to him, and that, like I said, the protests are still happening. So I think that between those two extremes, probably Tiananmen Square is closest to what we're going to get. Yeah, I think that there's eventually going to be some kind of anti-protester violence. I mean, there already has been. There already has been little individual instances of it, like that person who was talking about they were trying to get up to their apartment up a one-way street and got shot for it, you know? So there have already been individual acts of violence against these protesters. How long is it before we see somebody try to do a mass wipeout of these people? We've already seen mass arrests in LA. A news article from early this morning was talking about how the city has returned to peace with hundreds of arrests, and now, of course, the protests have woken back up, because that's how any good protest works. And you guys can use this as a fucking learning moment. If you're interested in direct action, you're interested in activism, you really want to make a difference in the world, pay attention right now to what's going on in LA. Pay close attention, because it's teaching you a little bit, right? One of the things it's teaching you is the fact that the protest doesn't end just because a bunch of people get arrested. No, people that haven't protested yet come out and join the people who are still there. That's how a protest continues. And that's how any massive protest that we are able to engage in at the national level, which is what I think needs to be the next step, that's how it's going to look. But I need you guys to understand, and I really want somebody to know this and to spread it to other people, right? I want other people to know and understand this basic concept. The reason why ICE is able to raid a bunch of fucking businesses and shit is because Donald Trump, authoritarian fascist that he is, has ordered it. And the reason why he is in politics is because money is the driving factor in American politics. And until you divorce those two things, until you make American politics not the realm of the rich and powerful, but rather the realm of the people's business, you will continue to face issues like this. Somebody sent a super chat. Oh no, message deleted by Midnight Ghoul. What did they say? But yeah, thank you for the $2. I appreciate it. I don't know what they said, but yeah, thanks for the money, dork. I don't know what the fuck they said. Oh, great. Yeah. I know I'm fat. Bro, you don't have to tell me. I know I'm fat. Anybody watching this chat can tell I'm fat. And you're not enabling me much either, because honestly, my problem is not expensive fast food and shit like that. I'm able to stay fat on a pretty fucking tight budget because, well, number one, because my family grows a lot of our food. And number two, because a lot of the food and stuff that I like, it's not, like, the reason why I'm fat is not because I've got an obsession with McDonald's. The reason I'm fat is because I've got an obsession with gut sticking, rib sticking, good fucking Southern food. And anybody that's from the South that might be in here right now can tell you there ain't nothing better than a big old plate of soul food. And you want to eat that whole plate because it's just so fucking delicious. And you don't know when the next time you'll get some beautiful food like that is, even if it might just be the next day. So you want to eat all that shit up, and that is where my fat comes from. By the way, there's 36 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance for this stream to be recommended by more people's algorithms, which is another chance for this stream to get even more interesting by virtue of the chat becoming more interactive. And in furtherance of that same participation in chat, please consider asking me a question, or if you've got a topic you want to know about, anything like that, just shoot it in the chat. And if chat's going too fast for you to see, or I'm sorry, if chat's going too fast for me to see your comment, if you feel like I've ignored it or you feel like I just didn't see it or whatever the case may be, I have super chats open for exactly that purpose. So the people who feel like they are not being heard necessarily and want to pay that extra couple of bucks or whatever to make sure that I actually read their question, have the ability to do that. And it's for people who just want to support the channel and that are appreciative of the efforts that we're making here, right? Because ultimately, no matter how you feel about my channel, this is a genuine, like, true-hearted attempt to try and make a place where we can have conversations. And that is valuable. That should be valuable to you, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. In fact, it should be more valuable to you if you disagree with me. It should be way more valuable to you if you disagree with me. What's up, Kay? What's up, Kay? Hey, people, I'm going to be starting my HRT tomorrow. Oh, not thank you, but congratulations. Sorry, I got my standard human socialization phrases mixed up. But yeah, congratulations on getting to where you can start your HRT tomorrow. That's actually really cool. Yeah, that is awesome. And what's up, Kay? What's up, Kay? HRT is God's gift to mankind. One of the many. One of the many. And really, it's not God's gift to mankind. It's medical science's gift to humankind. Just seen my doctor yesterday, and she is awesome. I can't wait. Are you from the South, Draco? Where are you from? You seen your doctor? You seen him? You seen her? I gotta start getting ready for class, so I'm gonna be in and out of chat. What are you studying, Midnight Ghoul, if you don't mind me asking? I love my country. What is your country? Oh, is that the trans pride flag? I love my country too. Bro, what am I watching? Are you doing crack? Not hardly. Taking an EMT course? Oh, that's cool. Rockford, Illinois was born in Cancun, Mexico. Nice. That's kind of cool. Born in Cancun. Cancun. Well, my parents are home, so I'm going to be right back. I'm going to mute this. Okay, there we go. Sorry. One of my parents had to get surgery today, and I just wanted to make sure my mom was okay. If you're going to be a bigot, at least be a literate one. Oh, 100%, dude. Don't be a bigot that can barely read in here, please. Please, I beg of you. Don't be a bigot that can barely read. Okay, I'm actually going to move again because it's really hot over here. So, even though it's probably still buggy down there, I think it'll be cooler down there. And right now, I am quite warm. So I'm going to go back down to the buggy area. Oh God, what is this? Bro, consider the fact that you are hanging around watching something that you claim to hate. Imagine being that person. Imagine you've got all the free time in the world, and the most interesting thing to you, the most fascinating way that you can spend your day is hanging around in the chat of somebody who's barely even going to give you the time of day, even to insult them. Couldn't be me for longer than 5 minutes. One of our Bantam roosters has finally gotten old enough to start crowing, and he sounds so cute. Thank you, Pig Mercy. Oh, what's up? What's up, Pig Mercy? Thank you all for your support on my journey. Of course, of course. What's up, Martha? If you're going to be a bigot, oh yeah, 100%. Well, now I feel bad about my comment. What'd you say, Casey? Oh, should I leave for 2 minutes and Phoebe turns into a chair? Yes, I have turned into a chair. Yeah, this is spot number 1. We're back in spot number 1 because it's cooler down here, and I'll be honest with you. Part of the reason why I moved back down here is because now that my parents are back from the hospital, I try not to smoke too close to where they're at because they don't like the smell of it. They're not like opposed to it legally or anything like that or morally or whatever. It's just like, you know, it stinks to them in the same way that cigarette smoke stinks to somebody who doesn't smoke cigarettes, you know? So I try not to smoke in an area where I feel like it'll blow towards them, you know? The bugs are coming. maybe, dude. Perhaps. For real. The bugs might just be coming. By the way, there's 70 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button because it really does help the channel. It's the best way that you can support without donating. And if you've got some extra money and you feel like supporting the channel and thanking me for my efforts here, which sounds egotistical, but I understand why some people want to do it. And honestly, the people who've donated the most to me are people who disagree with me. And the other day, somebody donated $100 saying explicitly that the reason why they like my channel is because I have long conversations, arduous conversations with people that I disagree with. And so even if you disagree with me, I'm an interesting content creator to listen to because I'm going to consider the things that you say. I'm going to make a genuine argument against them. I'm going to take them baseline seriously, usually, as long as it's readable, original, and interesting. If it's just some unoriginal pap, I'm probably not going to engage with it in very good faith. But if you actually present the argument, I'll argue with you all day fucking long. I'll argue with till the cows come home, bro. You must be so lost. Respectfully, ain't trying to diss. What makes you think I'm lost? What, because I'm trans? No. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Me being trans has made me feel more at home and more satisfied with myself, if that makes sense, than any other single development in my life. I know it must get annoying after a while, but I love the sound of chickens and roosters. Honestly, you would think it gets annoying after a while, but it doesn't. I mean, if you've got too many roosters, it does kind of get annoying because you just hear that fucking crow, you know, time after time after time after time. But if you've only got like 4 or 5 across the farm, it can actually be kind of cool, especially if they're in different places. Because it just kind of reminds you, oh yeah, I live on a homestead, you know? But yeah, I love the sound of them. I also like having a flock of guineas around, although the thing I don't like about guineas is the fact that they will associate their human owners with food, even if they don't necessarily feel comfortable getting close to you. And if you move around them, they get real scared and they back off, but they will stay 10 feet away from you, fucking shouting their fucking heads off until they get some treats. And then they'll keep shouting their heads off until their bellies are full, or until you fucking scare them off or something. So I like having guineas, but I also dislike having guineas. It's annoying she's a liberal. Who's a liberal? Me? You think I'm a liberal? What makes you think I'm a liberal? You realize there's a difference between a liberal and a leftist, right? Just like there's a difference between a conservative and a Nazi. Just like there's a difference between a conservative and a far-right conservative. Just like there's a difference between a paleo-conservative and a neoconservative, you know? Like, there are all these distinctions on the right wing, too. And those distinctions happen on the left as well. I am not a liberal. I am anti-capitalism. I am anti-fascism. My politics are incompatible with a pro-fascist, pro-capitalist view on the world. My politics don't allow for me to condone America funding genocidal dictators and shit. Dude, the algorithm just recommended you. Holy shit, look at all this. I know. See, that's what I was saying, right? Now that I've gotten a bunch of subs, I've really, like, over the course of the last 8 months or so, I've gotten pretty fucking good at predicting the algorithm and figuring out how to fit myself within that and figuring out how to keep people's interests for the most part. Now my main struggle is just going to be trying to avoid those, like when people mass report and the age restriction gets set during the middle of the stream, because when that happens, I'm completely reliant on subs, and depending on the time of day that I'm streaming, it may not even be viable, you know? Like, sometimes my sub base is just not active. My sub base is most active between 4 p.m. and 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. So if I'm streaming outside of that and I get an age restriction in the middle of a stream, it's very likely to just kind of kill the viewership. Brother, stop, don't dress like a woman. Who the fuck are you to tell me how to live my life, Sean? Who the fuck are you to tell me how to live my life? Number one, don't call me brother, because I ain't your brother. No, we're going to see. Yeah, God damn it. Casey, next time somebody says something like that, at least give me the opportunity to say whether or not I want them banned, because I was going to argue with that fuck for a minute. Because I genuinely want to hear from one of these pricks. I'm not getting on to you, Casey. I'm just saying. Like I said, that was, it wasn't original, but it was at least readable, right? Semi-readable, I think. Yeah, it was semi-readable and somewhat original and interesting by virtue of it being something I could fucking argue with. So, but anyway, I would love to hear from one of these transphobic morons out there what business it is of theirs how I live my life. What business is it of yours? Even if I was not trans, like even if I wasn't trans, even if I was just like a regular cis dude or whatever, what business was it? What the fuck business would it be of yours? What clothes I wear or how I spend my day? What is this abomination? Dude, you can't even spell and you want to come at me calling me an abomination? Bro, you're an abomination to the English language. Bro, fuck you. I love these little report heavy bitches. I love these little fucking kids, dude. These little fucking intolerant snowflakes that can't stand to have someone that disagrees with them streaming online. I get it, bro. You're not for free speech. What is this abomination? Exactly, dude. You know, Rasa, you know who leads the fucking charge in terms of pedophilia in America? Southern Baptists and fucking Catholic priests. Not queer people, not trans people, religious, hardcore, right-wing Christians. That's who leads the charge when it comes to sexual assault against children. Why do you vape? Is it nicotine? Yes, it is nicotine. And I vape because I developed a really stupid nicotine addiction when I was like 22. It's the most retarded shit ever because I grew up in a smoking family and grew up in a smoking household, was adamantly against smoking, but then I started traveling, right? I started living in my van and traveling across the country, and I was living with this person that basically taught me how to live on the road. They'd been a dirty kid for like 4 years after that point, so they showed me the ropes. But this friend, I've said their name on stream before, I guess it doesn't matter. This friend, Adam, smokes spliffs. And a spliff is, tobacco and cannabis in varying amounts. Sometimes it's 50-50. Usually it's more like 75-25, and, tobacco to cannabis. And I, being the type of party smoker that I was, and Adam being the type of social smoker that they are, found a synergy in that. But the problem was I didn't really smoke nicotine. I mean, I smoked blunts before my friendship with them, right? I smoked blunts, but I didn't smoke any sort of like regular old leaf tobacco. But then when they started hanging out, when we started living in the van together, I would ask them to hit their spliff because I wanted in on some of that bud inside, right? I wanted in on some of that cannabis. And that led to a crippling nicotine addiction that I have not been able to get myself out of yet. You are the best? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let me turn on participant mode subscribers. We'll make it 1 minute. We'll do a message delay of 15 seconds. By the way, if you're enjoying this content and you want to see more of these streams in the future, please consider subscribing. So hit the subscribe button and hit that bell because we do these super regularly. We do them usually about twice a day. I'll miss a day here and there, but we do it pretty often. So, why can't you quit this stuff? I probably could with concerted effort, but I haven't put in that concerted effort. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. I had to write out a text. I don't know if Bryce is still here, but he was asking what a transfemme person was. I think it'd be good to clarify. Okay, so a transfemme person is another word for a trans woman. It means someone who, it's another word for transfeminine. So transfeminine would be someone who was assigned male at birth, right? Someone like me, born with a penis, etc., that has transitioned at some later point in their life to womanhood, and or like transitioned to the part of the gender spectrum that's closer to womanhood. Does that make sense? Probably not if you're not clued into gender theory, right? Okay, so gender is a spectrum. It's hard to think of as such if you've been brought up and completely immersed in the idea of a binary gender system. But the truth of it is that gender is a total spectrum. Even between the two binaries that people think of when they think of gender, there's like wide fucking variation in that. It's a really wide spectrum. I'm here just to see what people are saying. Hey, you've got as much right to be here as anybody. I am gonna have to turn the camera around here in a second. I'll let you guys watch the chickens because I'll be holding our baby, me and my partner's baby, and I don't like to have him on stream, but I'll keep talking to you guys. I'll keep reading your comments. Hi, buddy. It is now. I was waiting for you to come on this side of it. Ah, my baby. Look at you. You got hair on it. Okay. You okay, baby? Do you need me to mute and we can talk about it? Something happened? I got you. I'm sorry. Actually, I would bring the table closer, but that's actually going to be really hard. Harry Potter, if mentally ill. If Harry Potter existed in the real world, wouldn't he be considered mentally ill, just like by himself? Because, Harry Potter is like magical and shit, and magic obviously doesn't exist in real life and regular life, so, are you into girls or boys? I am into people of all sizes. If you're a consenting adult, I'm probably down to fuck you. No, that's a lie. You would have to be a consenting adult that's interesting to my sensibilities, but as far as genitals matter, it doesn't really matter much to me. Like, if I think you've got one set and we get to that point and it turns out you've got another set, well, I'll just have to find another way to pleasure them, you know? Okay, so tell me, why do you believe what? Man, if you can't quack out a fucking readable comment with that many words, do I really need to read your comment? Let me try this again. Hey guys, I'm a wizard. Please believe me. Exactly. Please don't eat me through the screen. I have a lot to live for. But you look so tasty. Come on. Can't I have a bite? Can I have a little bite? Okay, so tell me, why do you believe what you believe, and why should society adapt to this? For example, fluid genders. I think society already has adapted to this. We just haven't gotten used to the language of it. That's the problem, right? We live already functionally in a society that has functionally fluid genders, as demonstrated by the fact that people recognize the gender validity of a tomboy, right? So a somewhat masculine woman who still considers herself a woman and does a few feminine things, right? She can be secure in her gender identity. That in itself is proof that womanhood, at the very least, is a fluid process. And then you look at men, right? There are there are a lot of people who are transphobic right now, but there are also a lot of people who are transphobic without being homophobic. And so there are men who recognize the gender validity of men who have some femininity to themselves, but are proud of being men regardless, right? So gender is already fluid. It's not something society needs to adapt to. It's not a belief of mine that we need to get used to. It's a belief of mine that comes from looking at society and assessing it accurately. You just said that to a kid. What? What are you fucking going on about? Did you just snort a big line of coke and now you're trying to make my problems your problems? Fluid gender is just an example. Why should society have this open-minded approach to life? Because it's all theory that you spit out. What's the benefit of it? A lot of it's not just theory. I mean, theory a lot of times just describes how the world works, right? Like, scientific theories are not theories in the colloquial sense. They're theories in the scientific sense. The theory of gravity is a mathematical equation that represents how far, it's E equals mc squared, right? It's the curvature of space-time around massive objects. It's a theory in that it's an understanding that can, like a current understanding that can be applied to reality and used to make assumptions off of. That's what a theory means in the scientific sense. As far as a philosophical sense, theory is maybe a little more loose and a little less reliable. But as far as my opinions being like workable and shit, I don't believe in anything that hasn't been shown to be effective in the long term already. For example, I believe heavily in a universal healthcare system. And I think that would be the most effective way to deal with the healthcare issue, because I look at so many other countries that have universal healthcare systems and I see that they are successful. I see that they are able to get good outcomes with those universal healthcare systems. And that makes me believe that maybe we should try the same approach. As far as being open-minded about other things, what's really the harm in being open-minded? Don't listen to the positive comments. I'll listen to whatever the fuck I want to. Bro, I'm just warning you, my ego is about 20 times as strong as yours. You are not going to be able to insult me in a way that's going to fucking raise a welt on my fanny. I hope you know that. God. Kid, why do you always drop your pacifier on the ground? It's better to talk things out and be respectful. I tend to agree. I think that a lot of human problems that we're facing right now, a lot of societal problems and shit, would be fixed if people would learn how to fucking communicate. If people would just learn how to have a fucking logical conversation with people that disagree with them. I kind of understand what you mean, but let's say a traditional way of looking to life, as in got married, get kids, and that's it. Let's say this is nature, and this is how things work. You're gonna have to. Please word that question differently. I have no idea what you're trying to ask. Honestly, I have no fucking clue what you were trying to ask specifically. Getting married isn't nature, we made it up. Yeah, that's why I'm asking this person to clarify, because I'm not exactly sure what they're asking, because it sounds like they're saying, like, let's say that all this shit that we just made up is the way it is. It's like, okay, let's say that. Well, it's not. Outside of having kids, that's natural. Reproduction is natural, but I'm a trans woman and my partner is trans, and we managed to have a kid. So being trans, being queer does not exclude you from having children at all. And yeah, animals don't get married. So the idea that getting married and having kids and all this other shit, the nuclear family and shit, that's not natural at all. It's something that we made up. I mean, human society is all about figuring out how to reconcile all of our weird primitive ape instincts with all of our modern contrivances. That's what society is. It's reconciling two very oppositional ideas. Your partner is also trans? They're gender fluid, so yeah. What I try to ask is, let's say tomorrow everyone does whatever they want. Does the world still exist? Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I feel like this is an absurd fucking hypothetical. This is like a really fucking absurd hypothetical, because not once in my entire fucking streaming history have I ever said, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Like, I have never come out with the Crowleyan maxim out on here, because I don't think that is it, Like, I think that even the most perfect society is probably going to have some restrictions on what a person can get away with. I think that consent and things like that are still going to be valued in a perfect society. So when it comes to anybody doing whatever they want,
Ooh, what else you gotta say? We want to know.
Chill out. I'm not fighting. I want to understand. I'm perfectly chill. I just don't understand your question. Like, I don't understand your line of reasoning, because it feels to me like you're trying to say, I don't know. It feels to me like you're trying to equate my push for wide recognizance of many different gender identities as a plea for everybody to do whatever they want, which seems like a pretty absurd straw man. What about the kid? What do you mean? What about him? Oh, hold on.
I gotta hold your ears.
The freight train. The kid is so cute. How is the kid doing? What's the best thing you all do together as mom and dad? Honestly, so far, I think one of our best memories of being a family so far, it happened yesterday. We went to the park for the first time with him, and we got to let him play with the splash pad they have there. Which, I mean, he's only 4 months old, so we have to obviously carry him through there and everything, but he did great. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. He had a lot of fun. He reacted really well to water. He didn't act like he was scared or irritated by it in any way, so it went great. If you believe in God, answer me or I will unsubscribe. Man, you're adamant. By the way, if anybody like that has a question that they really want to get answered and they feel like I'm ignoring it, consider a super chat, because that's a guaranteed way to get your comment read. Anyway, no, I don't believe in your particular version of God, almost certainly. I might believe in a higher power that someone might be able to convince me could be turned to God, but I probably don't believe in your idea of God. The way I see it is that your conception of truth is completely out of line with my perception. What I wonder is who's right. Well, that's, honestly, I think that's the most intelligent comment you've said all night. Not to say that the other things you've said haven't been smart. It occurs to me that probably sounded pretty condescending, and I don't mean it to. What I mean is that you're making a really astute observation there. Yeah, who's to say, right? And hold on one second. I'm going to let this train go by because I feel like I can't even hear myself think. Okay, now that the freight train has gone by, I have a garden. I want to direct sow some vegetables. Any advice? Thanks in advance. Whether my advice would be useful to you would probably depend on where you're at in the world, right? So if you're in North America, I can give you some advice, but if you're not in North America, I really don't know what I can tell you, but I can try a few things, right? So number one, make sure that wherever you're planting has good enough soil to support the kind of crop that you're wanting to plant. If you're trying to make a garden out of something that's been a lawn forever, you're going to need to add some amendments to that soil. You're going to probably need, I would say, let's say a 10-foot by 20-foot garden bed, you're probably going to need at least, it's hard to know, honestly, how much you would need for that off the top of my head, because I'm not as experienced in this realm as my dad is, but let's say you're doing like a 10 by 20 garden bed, you're going to need at least a couple of bags of composted manure or a couple of wheelbarrow loads of compost at the very least. But the more the better. And hold on, I'm gonna get up and walk with him a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, if you're trying to make a garden out of something that's been a lawn for a long time, you're gonna have to just figure out a way to add soil amendments to that. Ow, 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 ow. If you've got someone who composts near you, that's the best way to do it. Or if you've composted yourself for a while and you have some that's ready, that's obviously preferable. If not, you can buy composted manure at a lot of hardware stores during the planting season. As far as working those, what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? Amendments. As far as working those amendments into the soil, there's a number of different ways you can do that. Most people would till up the ground that they're going to use for it, distribute the fertilizer that they're going to use, and then plow that fertilizer into the ground. But you can also just kind of break it up a little bit with a hoe or something like that, and put it directly on there and just start planting on top of it. Let's see here. Oh, make sure you find a place that gets plenty of sun all day long. If you are a gardener who's used to container plants and ornamentals and things like that, you're probably used to finding cooler spots in your yard, cooler spots in your house to place your plants so that they don't get sunburned or anything like that. But crops, you really ain't got to worry about that too much. Some of them you get better results by starting them inside under controlled conditions and then transplanting them outside. But still, crop plants are adapted for the most part to very open and sunny kind of environments. Man, it is hot. Let me see here. Bought MPK 15 and some seeds. Now I need compost, I guess. I found an avocado tree and 2 jasmines when I found in. Ooh, nice. What area are you in, GCC? You're the one who asked me about that, right? What area of the world are you in? There are moms and dads that will hurt their kid for either God or for their view, and it sucks seeing that happen. Let the kids do their own thing. Never force or beat your kid over things you don't agree with. I've seen firsthand how bad things can get. I 100% agree. I disagree massively with people that punish their kids for how their kids end up viewing the world, or how their kid's sexuality turns out or whatever, because ultimately your kid, I don't know, dude. To me, I can't imagine beating my kid, period. I can't imagine laying a hand on my son, no matter what, but especially not for something like, uh, Mom, I'm gay, or Mom, I'm dating a black girl, or something like that. The fact that some people are so willing to engage in that kind of violent behavior towards their own children indicates to me that there is a problem amongst bigots of allowing and condoning violence against people with which they're very close, which to me is the least excusable form of violence. If you're willing to be hateful and violent to the people that you should love most, I mean, you're just evil at that point, dude. You're just functionally fucking evil at that point.
Hi, buddy. Say, hi, mommy. Say, we had a fun, good time. We had a really good time. We sat and talked to the chat. It's in my hands. We sat and talked to the chat, and he got a little bit warm, but he's okay. He got applesauce on him.
I'm sorry, baby. Alrighty, the camera's turned back around. Huh? Okay, baby. Alrighty, I'm in San Diego. You in Mississippi, I guess? How'd you know? Sand can help get clay out of dirt. Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah. But yeah, so if you're in San Diego, I can give you general advice. Yeah, you can grow way more than I can, honestly. If you're in San Diego, you can basically grow anything, because you're in an area that has a climate that's ready for that kind of thing. So anything except hardcore winter crops, like you're probably not going to grow a very successful crop of wheat or something like that. But corn, you can grow. Zucchini, you can grow. Exotic plants, you can grow. Avocados, you can grow. You can grow all kinds of shit that I couldn't grow here. You could grow banana plants where you're at if you wanted to. So my best advice for you is going to be, make sure you choose a good spot. Make sure you use soil amendments, because especially in San Diego, I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot of like sandy kind of desert and clay soils and things like that. And you're going to definitely need soil amendments to make that way better. You'll need more than just fertilizer, right? Because the substrate matters a lot when it comes to how successful your plants are. Because substrate determines not just what kind of fertilizer is available to the plant and the distribution of that fertilizer within, but the type of substrate you choose determines how much water the soil retains. That's the big thing that you're going to want to look out for if you're in San Diego. You're going to want to make absolutely sure that your plants are getting enough water. And the biggest advice that I can give to you when it comes to that, outside of what I've already said, is when you water, try not to water till after the sun's gone down, or till after the sun's at least setting behind the mountains or something like that. Use the last hour or two of light before it gets completely dark to water all your plants, because that will ensure that they get the water that they need, but that it evaporates or falls off of the plant before the sun comes up, because if you do it during the middle of the day, you're going to end up scorching the fuck out of all your plants, because that water will actually magnify the intensity of the sun's rays, and the fact that it's so dry down there means that there's not a whole lot of stopping the sun's rays from getting to them, and it will massively increase the chances that you experience stunted growth and things like that. So just be careful when you water. I'll donate all the veggies to charities, giving back to the community. Thanks a lot for the info, homie. Oh, of course, you're welcome. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. We don't always talk about gardening. We talk about politics and news and gender identity and all kinds of crazy shit. But sometimes gardening does come up, and I'm always happy to give advice about it because I do come from a family that gardens for a lot of our food. And as time goes on, I'm getting more into it. So I hate religious parents who hurt their kids over worldview, mostly because I'm one of those kids. Aw, Casey, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that about you. That's so sad. I never knew that about Casey. But now my view of Casey has changed just a little bit. Because, yeah, dude. Now, Casey, I understand why you relate to me so hardcore when it comes to our religious trauma. By the way, there's 96 people in here right now. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance for the stream to reach even more viewers and to become even more interesting by virtue of increased participation in the chat. And in furtherance of increased participation in the chat, please send a super chat if you've got something you really want to say, but that you feel like I haven't gotten the chance to read because it's flown away before I could get to it, or whatever the case may be. As long as it's not... like, if you send something in the super chat that I can't say without getting banned or something like that, I'm not going to read it. But if you send something I can read without breaking YouTube's TOS or breaking the law, I'll read it. Read every single one. Not last demon. Not last, she's a demon. For that, I hope you get... What? What are you talking about, War Machine? That's why I'm so closed off and closeted and speak so bad about the lady who raised me. Yeah, that is really fucking sad. I can't blame you at all, because that sort of religious trauma sticks with a person throughout the rest of their lives, and it makes a person think differently about who they are. It makes a person think way differently about their fate in life and all this other shit. It's just not a great way to be. What the fuck is happening in LA, Phoebe? LA is burning to the ground right now because ICE insists upon raiding people's homes and businesses for illegal immigrations at the behest of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has something against Mexicans, or he recognizes that his voter base does and wants to satisfy their fucking authoritarian bloodlust. Plus, this is just something that happens, dude. It's something that fucking happens, and it's gonna happen until we fix our broken immigration system in this country. It's something that happens, dude. About every 10 years, some comes a big push for deportations. Push for fucking hardcore immigration laws and shit like that. And it's something that happens, you know? They do a bunch of mass deportations, and then slowly the policy kind of loosens up, and then people start coming back in again, and then it continues until enough white people are scared enough to start demanding fucking action from the Republican congressmen and everything, and then the cycle starts back over again. Because ultimately, it's about keeping people distracted from the real theft that's afoot. It's about keeping people, it's about keeping those Hispanic people oppressed by ensuring that they're always on the defense. They're always on the defense. They're always at risk of having their citizenship be up in the air. They're always at risk of having their citizenship process be up in the air. I don't watch no news TV. It's just working out and chilling. Yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of news, but I do read news articles pretty often. And yeah, so basically what's happened in LA so far is I started doing a bunch of fucking raids in the city. One of those raids sparked a protest. That protest has sparked a riot that has continued for the last week. Trump has authorized a National Guard deployment, and he has since doubled that deployment against the advice of the governor, Gavin Newsom, and the mayor. I don't remember her first name, but I remember her last name is Bass. So Trump has also mobilized Marines. And what is basically happening is an escalation attempt by the Trump administration, because these protests were pretty much peaceful fucking activities right up until police pushed back against the protests and the National Guard started showing up. And then that's when things started to become more and more of a riot. And this is what Trump wants. Trump wants things to get bad enough to where he can invoke the Insurrection Act or something. He wants things to get bad enough to where he can fucking declare martial law. I've seen some G's trying to convince the LAPD to change profession. I mean, honestly, I think that if the LAPD was really on the side of the people, I think that the LAPD would join the side of the protesters right now. Like, that would be the biggest sign of solidarity. Like, that could fucking actually change the fucking fates of things. But that's not how the police work. If you think the police are your friends, this should show you that they're not. Because LA is burning right now at the behest of people who live in LA because federal officials want to fuck with the town. Federal officials want to fuck with the city, and people are sick to death of being in this fucking situation. They are sick to death of this constant fucking threat. They're sick to death of the economic fucking injustice that's constantly happening. And it's just one straw too many. It's just one straw too many. There's too many neighborhoods in LA that have been too fucked over for too long, and this was just the last straw. It's like, first you come for our jobs, then you come for the fucking social services that keep people uplifted, and now you're gonna come for the fucking few people who are actually still working in this community. It's like, fuck you. You're gonna come for not the few people, but you're gonna come for the people who are still working in this community. You're gonna come for the people who are able to find refuge in a place. It's just ridiculous. You don't want martial law in the U.S.? Well, duh. But that's what Trump wants. That's what Donald Trump wants, clearly. Why else would he be escalating things so heavily? Well, if everyone would have chilled and found another way to speak out instead of burning things down, yeah, see, I don't agree. I don't agree at all. I think a riot is the language of the unheard. I think the only reason that things are getting burned down in LA right now is because LA, specifically the actual arm of the government in LA, the fucking LAPD, has been cooperating with ICE. So in a sense, it's like the city is cooperating with ICE, you know? And that's why the people are rising up. Now, in my opinion, these protests would be way more effective if they would all fucking move to the fucking capital of the country. Like, I think these protests actually could be effective if 3 million people would show up in Washington, D.C. and say, we are not going to move until we have a fucking, until we have basically a I don't know what you would call it, like a New Deal. So burn your house for it being bad? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that, let's say you live in the house, let's say you live in a house that's owned by a landlord, and you keep reporting damage to that house. You keep telling the landlord about what's wrong with it. You keep telling him and telling him and telling him, and he does nothing about it. And then one day, you find out your rent's going up. There's been no maintenance on the house. There's been no value added to the property at all. But now your rent's going up by $75. And you decide to move out and burn that place down. That, I think, is the understandable fucking result of economic coercion by the upper class towards the lower class. And I think that is analogous to what we're seeing here. What's the reason of raising Mexican flags during riots, though? It's not during every fucking riot. It's during, like, you have to understand, these protests are against ICE raids. So ICE has been raiding not just Los Angeles, fucking all across the country there have been ICE raids. But it was LA that finally had the balls to stand up and say something about it. So credit to LA. Credit to the people of LA. Because they are the ones who have shown Americans, hey, you can protest this shit. You can get up off our fat asses and go into the street and protest this shit. And that's something that Americans need to be fucking reminded of. Minneapolis reminded people of it 5 years ago, and now it's time to be reminded of it again. And I, for one, am super happy to see another summer full of protests so close to the last one. Shit is getting real, guys. Shit is finally getting to the point where people are starting to realize the theft that's afoot. People are starting to realize the toxic situation that we have allowed ourselves to be conned into. Free Palestine? 100%. Free fucking Palestine. That conflict is ridiculous. It's a conflict that was invented by the West, by the way. A conflict that entirely exists because Western countries didn't want to take Jewish refugees. Literally, that's why. That is the 110% reason why Israel exists, because America didn't want to take Jewish refugees. So it's an example of America's bigotry creating this massive fucking geopolitical issue that is now killing Gazan children. So instead of trying to get out of a place you don't like, you rather destroy it, if then cry when that find. What? I'm sorry, War Machine, can you try retyping that in a way that I can read? Because I have no idea what you're trying to say. And by the way, I never said that that was a good idea. What I said is that it's understandable, and I think it is. I think the idea, like, let me ask you something. Why is it okay for rich and powerful people, like, okay, let me ask you this. Why is it okay for ICE and the fascists under Trump's command to go and destroy people's lives? Literally, destroy people's lives, break up people's families. Why is it okay for them to do that, but not for one of those people whose lives are being destroyed by that to throw a brick through the window of the corporations that funded those campaigns? Why is that wrong? Why is that not at the very least understandable? Why is it always on the people that are victims of oppression to respond peacefully? We're not treated with peace. So the idea is always, don't get down on their level. But they've brought us down to that level. We have to fight them at their level because we've tried the other way. We've tried just being superior. We've tried just being like, oh, well, peaceful protest time. We shall walk the street for 5 hours today, and then we will all peacefully go home. And you know what happens? Not a goddamn thing. You know what it takes to actually get the American government and the various city governments of this country to really recognize what needs to happen? It takes a fucking riot. It takes a bunch of people getting up, standing up on their feet, walking through the streets, shouting, playing music, and occasionally throwing a brick or two. I wish it didn't take that. But it takes either that or a bunch of people getting fucking sprayed with water hoses in the street. And like, honestly, it takes one of these protests / riots being suppressed massively to get the real change that people need. So it's like, either way, we're going to be seeing destruction. Because the whole idea of like a peaceful protest that and everything, that doesn't get anybody's attention. That's literally so easy to ignore. If you really want to get fundamental change in this fucking country, you have to start burning shit down. You have to hit the fucking people where it hurts. Not the people, but you have to hit the people that are responsible for the damage where it hurts. And the people responsible for the damage in this case are corporations and bourgeoisie-ass rich people. Getting on their level, you becoming what you hate. So, I'm sorry, that logic just doesn't carry through. So when a bear mauls a human being that's invaded its habitat, it then becomes a human being? The destruction is not good. It doesn't matter if it's not good. It's the only thing that they listen to. It's the only thing that they listen to. They don't listen. They don't listen to the people's voice when it's expressed demurely. They don't listen to the people's voice when the people's voice is reduced to a whisper. That's why Trump is threatening protesters with further fucking legal action. That's why Trump is threatening protesters with military action and shit. That's why. Because Trump wants to suppress the people's voice even further. But I got news for you. We are allowed to petition our government for a redress of grievances. We are allowed to peaceably assemble. And in my opinion, peaceful assembly can include blocking highways. Peaceful assembly can include all kinds of things. Now, here's what I'll say. Do I think that throwing bricks is a great idea? No. Do I think that burning things down is a great idea? No. Do I think it's a totally understandable reaction from a community that's been oppressed for 20 years? Yes. Do I think it's understandable? Yes. Do I think that it's good optically? No, probably not. If for no other reason than it causes endless arguments like this. But we also have to consider the work of agent provocateurs. You have to understand how much of this fucking, this peaceful protest has turned into a riot. You have to understand how much of that shit is caused by agent provocateurs. People who are federal agents or police officers or whatever that are told to dress up in black bloc, dress up like a protester, and make it violent. It's illegal to block highways? Yeah, and it should be illegal to... Yeah, you know what else is illegal? Threatening protesters with legal action. You know what else is illegal? Threatening protesters with the military merely for protesting. That's illegal, and yet the president is doing it. So if the president isn't going to respect the laws of America, I don't see why the American people should be expected to, especially not something as petty as thou shalt not block a roadway. Zombie cracked, I don't give a fuck. Donald Trump himself is openly flaunting the Constitution. Donald Trump himself is openly defying American law. And if the president can do it, any of us can do it. The president is not above the law. If anything, the president should be held to a higher standard. So if the president can't be expected not to unleash the military on peaceful protesters, then I don't think peaceful protesters should be expected to stay off the highways. This channel should be illegal. I love that. Dude, conservative Republican maggots love to talk about how free speech, but they don't care a fucking thing about free speech. Remember comments like Liam's next time you hear a conservative retard talking about free speech. Remember, what they want is not free speech. They want completely unhindered conservative speech and for any leftist speech to be suppressed. It's a buzzword for them, not a real position. You mean it's saying if you break a law, you should get a free pass? No, what I'm saying, don't... War Machine, I'm going to ask you to start listening to what I'm saying and not reformatting it into something else that you wish I was saying, okay? I'm going to give you my fucking position one more time, and I really don't want to hear it fucking reconstituted into some other bullshit. What I'm saying is that right now, the United States government, through the president, is actively flaunting... Fuck off! Sorry, there's some fucking big-ass bug that's trying to harass me. Anyway, what I'm saying is that the United States president and the United States government, by extension, is openly flaunting the law right now. If the United States government is going to openly flaunt the law, then how is it immoral for us to flaunt much more petty laws in furtherance of destroying them, in furtherance of opposing them? And remember, this is something that's called upon American people in the Constitution. The American people have a duty to resist tyranny. The American people have a duty to oppose governments that they oppose, vociferously, loudly, with civil disobedience. Let me ask you this, War Machine. What do you think of the Founding Fathers, War Machine? Vaping if for the weak. Yeah, and typing is for the intelligent, but I guess you wouldn't know that. Typing words that are fucking legible, you know? Yeah, I think the Insurrection Act is unconstitutional, bro. I think the Insurrection Act should have been struck down about 200 years ago. Trump's getting rid of you. I'm so scared. Fuck you, bitch. I bet you wish he would, huh? Well, you know what? I wish Biden would have gotten rid of you guys, but here we are. Seems the algorithm recommended you again. It always does. The algorithm loves my cute ass. I don't really like them. They did a lot of bad stuff trying to pass it off as a good reason, saying it was for the greater good. Okay. Well, at least you're recognizing that a lot of love for the founding fathers would place you in a very hypocritical position right now. At least you recognize that. Because if you'd come back with some like, yeah, I love the founding fathers, hell yeah, I would have had to be like, okay, well, the entire formation of America is based on the breaking of the law. Literally. It was illegal. Every fucking part of the fucking invention of America was illegal. Like, do you think the king just, like, the Revolutionary War happened because King George didn't see the American colonies as an independent nation after they shipped over the Declaration of Independence. He saw it as a colony that was rebelling, which was illegal. And yet America still exists. Why? Because criminality matters to a limited degree. Criminality matters when you are on the defensive. Is that a duck in your hand? No. We're a country of laws. We're a country of laws founded on lawlessness. We're a country of laws founded on the principle that laws need to be broken when they become overly tightening on the throat of the people. This country is premised on the idea that when a law is too restrictive, a soul cannot breathe free, and they must break free of those bonds. Lawlessness and a revolution are two different things? No, they're not. No, they're not. They are to the fucking people doing the revolution, but to the people fighting the revolution on the other side, it's lawlessness. Do you think King George looked at it as a revolution, or do you think King George looked at it as as lawlessness, as an uprising? Phoebe looking like Phil. I love how, because my chosen name starts with P, everyone assumes my dead name must start with P. You couldn't be farther off. It was a revolution from the standpoint of the Americans, yeah. What was it to the standpoint of King George? Because I can assure you it was not a revolution. To the government of King George, the American Revolution was the American insurrection against the crown. You are not going to be able to make this turnaround be good in your favor. Just admit it, bro. Just admit that you were wrong. Admit that you're arguing from a flawed fucking premise. Or shut up. What are your thoughts on religion? Do you have any beliefs? Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm just kind of a crazy hippie, though. Like, I think that all things have the quality of mind. I'm a panpsychist. So I think that this chair has a little bit of a mind, you know? I think that that tree has a little bit of a mind. And I think that the more complicated an organism is, the more complicated a thing is, the more of a mind that it has. Because I believe that minds are cumulative and that they interact with one another. I think that nature is the universal assemblage of all those minds and of all the atoms in the universe coming together to make things that are beautiful to the human eye. And I think that they are beautiful because the human eye has evolved to find our world wonderful. And I think that nature, being something we have not yet learned to tame, being something that in fact hinders our progress quite a bit, regardless of our attempts to tame it, kind of proves itself as a higher power. But as far as an Abrahamic God or something like that, sorry. You sound crazy? Good. To be sane in an insane society is no measure of fucking sanity. What are your thoughts on Christians? Hypocritical bitches for the most part. There's a few good ones out there, though. More than a few, but the problem is the hypocritical bitches are the loudest ones. Trust me, it's best to try and find ways to regroup. War Machine, I get what you're saying, and maybe you're right. Maybe it is better, but like when they don't listen, like you act like that hasn't been the strategy. Like you act like that hasn't been the strategy for years. It's been the strategy for years to try and prevent people from getting to high office despite having fascist beliefs and everything. Like it's been a fucking matter of national interest for fucking decades now. And people on the left have been trying to do the things that you're asking of us for years and years and years and years. And it doesn't happen. And so when you get to when you get to a moment like what we're at right now, where ICE raids are continuing, the people's voices being ignored, none of our opinions are being listened to, eventually the kettle just has to pop. Eventually, something has to give. Something has to fucking give. You're talking about hurting random people as you go after the people you hate? Oh, man. Bro, can we talk about something else? Because you are clearly not going to get my point on this. I just feel like you're actively trying to miss the point. And by the way, most of the people that you're accusing these riots of hurting ain't hurting. Target's CEO is not hurting because one of his stores got burned down. Starbucks CEO is not fucking crying because one of his stores got burned down. And I know you guys love to bring up all my small business. Oh, my small business. Listen. You got business insurance for a reason. These are the times when it comes in most handy. And here's the fucking truth of it, bro. We can argue till we're blue in the face about the ethics of a riot. We can argue till we're blue in the face about whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong, but it happens. It happens. And in my opinion, the best way to not have riots is to be preventative about them. And the best way to be preventative about a riot is to not allow the conditions that create riots. And once again, I've gone over it like 10 times today, but once again, these riots are an outgrowth of economic injustice that has gone on in this country for way too long. It was the last straw. The ICE raids were just the last straw. People have been fucking economically oppressed for 30 fucking years, and it's coming to a head. Nobody can fucking stand it anymore. We're all sick to death of each other. We're all sick to death of the rich bourgeois pricks that own and control our society. We're sick to motherfucking death of it. All of us, universally. And it's finally, like, that's coming to a head. It's coming to a head. And yeah, there are going to be people that didn't have much to do with that get caught up in the maelstrom. But that's what has to happen to get something to change. Would that it could be some other way. Would that there could be some other way, bro, but they don't listen to the voice of the people. They simply do not. I'm talking about flesh and bone, like say someone walks by, right, and gets hit by the glass you broke and it hurts them. Bro, that's not... If someone's walking by in the midst of an active fucking riot, they are there because they want to be there, bro. And they are accepting the fucking fact that they might get hurt. Nobody just randomly ends up in the vicinity of a fucking protest. You realize when a big riot or something like that is happening, they will cordon off that section of town. And if you're not already in there, they will make it incredibly difficult to get in there. Like, you realize that, right? War Machine, can I ask you something? What's the last protest you were at? What's the last protest you knew someone who was at? And how much do you know about it? Because it seems to me like it's a lot of conjecture on your part. Because having known someone who was intimately involved with the Portland protests in 2020, I'm pretty good friends with them here on YouTube, and they recorded a bunch of shit that was going down on those protests. I can tell you that when a big protest like that happens, streets will get cordoned off. They will try their best to contain it, and it becomes very difficult to get in and out of those areas unless you really need to be there. And the vast majority of working people in all of these places, the vast majority of regular ass average people, are in support of the fucking protests. The reason why these protests keep continuing is because there's more people that care about this issue than would see themselves as being harmed or inconvenienced by it. And I don't know why I don't know why inconvenience and possible I don't see why inconvenience and possible harm to like 10% of a population should justify the other 90% being made to not express their voice. What about the homeless? The homeless in a protest situation usually end up joining the fucking protest because it might be the most community that they've seen in fucking years, bro. Dude, I used to be a dirty kid. I used to be homeless. I guess you could still consider me a bit of a dirty kid, honestly. I used to be homeless, and every fucking homeless person I knew had participated in multiple fucking protests. Because when you're homeless, dude, especially if you're a traveling homeless, like if you're a traveler of some kind, it is very easy to to go to the locus of a protest and get involved in shit. So when it comes to the homeless in those communities, they're benefited from the protest. Number one, the looting and shit and the unrest and shit, it can benefit them in a number of ways. Number one, it can like if there's a curfew or something like that, usually the homeless people are one of the people that end up getting arrested. But honestly, like if you're homeless in a big city and you get arrested just because of like a curfew violation or something like that, you're out the next day. You're out the next day and you get a hot meal and a cot while you're in there. And usually you have access to a shower or something like that. So at the very least, you have access to a sink and the ability to wash up and shit. So like going to jail if you're homeless, I mean, it really depends on the circumstances as to whether that's actually a bad thing. We're always homeless. You're only at home with when you're with the people you love. I guess that's fair. Fair enough, I guess. Nothing feels more like home is to coming to get her as a family. What? I'm not sure what you're saying, but right on. By the way, there's 70 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance for the stream to get recommended in someone else's algorithm, which is another chance for the stream to get even more interesting by virtue of the chat becoming more participatory. And if you feel like I haven't seen one of your comments, or if I've ignored it for some reason, consider sending a super chat. It really does help. Those help more than anything, because if eventually I can start making a living off this channel, or even if I can just start making a decent amount of money off this channel, I can start putting those earnings towards improving the content, getting a better phone, having less connection issues, things like that. And I can put it towards improving the farm. I mean, think about it. There's plenty of people who value these discussions and who would love to support, right? Let's say I get to the point where I've got 10,000 subscribers and it's mostly built on the back of these lovely chats that we have here. I could probably have enough of an audience to support really doing some major fucking changes to the farm, and it would be super fun to bring you guys along with that. Although, I will say, while I've got you guys here, I might be starting a new channel soon. Obviously, I'll be continuing to do content on this one, but I might start a new channel soon that focuses specifically on the farm. And if I do, I will let you guys know about that and send you guys over there, because I want to start doing some content. My parents have been begging me to do some content with them, with stuff around the farm. So, e-begging delusional troon. I've already earned $2 today, and people like you love to send me more money. So why don't you send me some money and pay me? Like you do when you're on Pornhub. $2 is so good. Better than you've ever made on YouTube, I bet. How do you do a super chat? I believe the button should be down there, I think, and it looks like a little cash symbol. And you just click that. It gives you the option to select what amount you want to donate, and what amount you donate is, how much you can say in the comment is contingent upon how much you donate. It's a pretty cool system. But yeah, if you appreciate these conversations and you like having them, if you appreciate what we're trying to do on this channel and the sort of unique environment that we fostered here, please consider sending a super chat, because that is the best way to tell me that you like what I'm doing. What the hell is a troon? Dude, it is some weird fucking slur for trans people. I have no idea where it comes from. Well, I know it comes from 4chan, but I don't know what the etymology is. Treat it as the more someone pays that pit their jokes up. What? I have no idea what War Machine is trying to say. You look like Boogie? No, I do not. I'm not nearly fat enough to be mistaken for Boogie's sister. Not nearly. Dude, Boogie weighs like fucking 600 pounds. I weigh just over 300. I weigh like 302 as of my last weigh out. I'm also like 6'2", so weighing 302 pounds is not that unusual. Like, I got a big gut, but for the rest of, like, honestly, for the most part, I got a big gut and bingo wings, but I'm not like gargantuanly, like, dude, if you look at that documentary that Boogie 2988 was involved in, dude, they're like, Boogie is like a level of fat to which I can only aspire, bro. Boogie is a disgusting level of fat. I'm a pretty normal American level of fat. What are you? I am a nuisance to the gods. No, I'm a nuisance to man and a mystery to the gods. Did you cut your hair in front yourself? Yeah. It doesn't look particularly good right now, but I also haven't combed it. I'm not particularly good at cutting hair, so. Is this a weed channel? No, this is a conversational channel. This is a channel that covers all kinds of topics. Honestly, I just talk about whatever I want to talk about on here as far as my long form content goes. But as far as these vertical streams go, these are entirely chat directed. So I respond to the things that people say in chat. We talk about the news of the day. We talk about myself. We talk about my life. We talk about other people's lives. We talk about celebrities and news and politics and fucking philosophy and pop culture and anything we want to here. No, I think what's wrong with America is actually the massive fucking, like the massively overinflated egos of idiotic bigots like yourself that think that your backwards ideas and your Bronze Age bullshit should determine what other human beings do with their lives and what is acceptable behavior. Fuck you, bitch. How do you feel about the big, beautiful bill? There's some stuff in there I like, honestly. There's some stuff in there I'm really not a fan of, but there's some stuff in there I like. I think the no tax on tips thing is pretty cool. I think the no tax on overtime thing is pretty cool because those are things that directly and legitimately do help the working class. But there's also some shit in there that I think is kind of reprehensible. Like there are some tax changes and shit that make it hard for working class people to get more of a tax break. There's some regulations in there that I'm definitely not a big fan of. There's like a 10-year ban on any kind of AI regulation in there that's, I think, ridiculous. So, I don't know. I think it's a mixed bag when it comes to legislation. No, Jordan, you are what's wrong with America. You and people that think like you are the reason why America is getting dumber and dumber by the day. Bro, it would take me way more than $5 to give up smoking and vaping. How do you feel about the additional SNAP benefits in the bill? Is that a thing? Because I started reading through it, but I didn't read all the way through it because it's a very long document. Even the little like prep document that the Ways and Means Committee came up with is it's like fucking 50 pages long. So by all means, do what you want. I like making fun of anyone. You being trans is you. You just don't be one of those ones that try to push it on other people. I feel like that's a phantom concern. Like in your entire life, be real with me. Have you had one person in your entire life try to convince you to be trans? Really? Have you had a single person in your life try to convince you to be trans? Is it for your own good to stop vaping and smoking? Yeah, well, as much, like, oh my God, dude. You're not my mother. You're not my mother. You're not my fucking parent. I am a grown-ass woman. I don't need your input as to what I should and should not be doing. And until you donate, you don't pay my bills, so you don't even get any input on it. About the kid, don't push stuff on kids. Who the fuck is doing that, though? The right wing is always talking about trans people pushing shit on kids, but the only people I see pushing shit on kids are conservative religious parents bringing their children to church against their will, well into their teens. I see, like, all kinds of religious people pushing shit on their kids, but I don't really see queer people pushing shit on anybody's kids, much less their own. A lot of people are doing that. Where? Source? Fox News. Source? Alex Jones, like. Sorry, I don't want to listen to opinions on gender science from the dude who said they're turning the fucking frogs gay, No, I'm talking about earlier. When I had my son out here, what are you implying here? Can you explain to me what you're implying? Are you implying that because I'm trans that I'm going to raise my son to be trans? Because if so, that's a really weird assumption to make. I don't feel like War Machine. We've talked enough for me to feel like you don't mean for it to come off like this, right? But here's how it comes off when you say something like that. I think Phoebe is too stupid to know that her kid is most likely not going to be trans. Like, come on. You've talked to me long enough today to know that I'm not that stupid. 99% of people are not trans. 99% of people are cisgender, are perfectly fine with the gender they're assigned at birth. So why on earth would I assume that he's trans until he's old enough to tell me one way or the other? Like, now here's the difference between me and perhaps another cisgender parent. I will never tell my son not to cry. You know, I'm never going to tell my son to be a man in terms of like dealing with his emotions and sucking it up and that kind of thing. I'm never going to tell my son that his validity is structured around how he takes care of his woman or whatever. Like, I'm not going to raise him with the strict sort of gendered language and heterosexual structure that I was raised with, but I'm also not going to raise him under the assumption that he's going to be gender fluid or trans or something like that, because he's probably not. But I think that you can teach positive masculinity even if you yourself are not male or not a man. So I think my partner and I will be able to manage just fine. Were you straight when you had your son? No. I mean, my son's only 4 months old, so no. I've been out as trans for 5 years, and I've been out as bi for 11 years. I'm talking about the God thing? Oh, okay, yeah. Well, 100% I agree with you then. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I misinterpreted what you said. I'm sorry. But yeah, when it comes to religion, I really don't think kids should be brought up in that shit. Also, there was the mom that dressed her kid up in a dress and took him to a strip club. Yeah, but that's like one example of a kid, or I'm sorry, that's one example of a parent being fucked up and like weird and shit, right? Like, are there examples of that? Yeah, but that happens in every community, right? Like that's just a thing that human beings do sometimes. It doesn't really have much to do with being trans. Like maybe if you are sympathetic to trans viewpoints, you might be more likely to do something in that particular way, structured like that, you know? But I don't think that that necessarily means there's anything wrong with trans people. I think that that just means that there's something wrong with someone who would do that particular thing, you know? Like, just because most serial killers are white doesn't mean that every white person has the capacity to be a serial killer, you know? Are you a dualist or a physicalist? You will have to explain what that means, because I like to think that I'm pretty well read when it comes to some philosophy, but go away. Have you ever thought you just need some positive support and attention, and this group offered that for you? Oh my God. What makes you think I didn't have that positive support and attention before this? Bro, I was a musician for fucking 5 years before I ever came out as trans. I was a well-liked musician in the towns that I operated in, too. I was a well-liked local musician in 2 different towns. I had lots of fucking friends, and a wide abundance of friends before I came out as trans. I've actually got less support and attention now that I'm trans than I did before. Like, yeah, was I able to find support in the queer community when I came out as trans? Yes, but that's because I sought out support from within the queer community after I came out as trans. Well, I really didn't even have to seek it out that hard, to be honest with you. I just I was friends with some queer people on Facebook when I came out, and, they offered their support, and they had some of their friends they thought would be helpful for me to talk to. They had some of those friends add me, and, just went from there. And yeah, I still get quite a bit of support from within the queer community, even here on YouTube, but I also get plenty of support from outside the queer community, and I've really never felt particularly like unsupported or whatever, if that makes sense. Except in my gender identity, right? That was probably the most restricting thing, in my opinion. Like, when it comes to my social life, I had a pretty good social life before coming out as trans. You know, when it comes to like being well adjusted, the the main source of my the main source of strife in my life was this big discrepancy between my real gender identity and the way I was forced to express myself by the society I lived in. Does that make sense? Yo, fuck what everyone else is saying. This bread I whipped up, bussin'. Oh, what kind of bread is it? You gotta tell us all about the bread. I like trans, I like rainbow, I like everyone as long as they are respectful and powerful and wish to talk. That's great. Hey, respectful and powerful. I like that. Yeah, me too, dude. I like everybody. I even like, dude, you know what? I love a maggot. I love a Trump supporter that is willing to like have a conversation with somebody like me, you know? I just don't like it when somebody's bigoted, and I don't like it when somebody comes out of their mouth sideways at somebody, you know? I like it when people are real and upfront about who they are. I like it when people don't feel the need to start a conversation with derision and assumption, you know? Just be chill and we can vibe. It doesn't matter how deeply we disagree. Dude, one of the coolest people I ever worked with was a person that I thought was completely batshit crazy on about 50% of everything he believed. The other 50% we agreed completely. But about 50% of the shit he believed was so fucking far off base that I would laugh sometimes. What does being trans and dressing different do for you? I'm autistic and I'm being genuine. For me, it makes me feel comfortable in my own skin, as comfortable as I can, you know? It makes me not think about the fact that I have a penis. It makes me not get readily identified by everyone I meet as a man. It makes me not feel this constant discrepancy that I always felt the entire time that I was not out as trans, right? The entire time I was not out as trans, I felt like I was being mislabeled. I felt like I was being misgrouped. I felt like I couldn't relate to anybody around me because I felt like who I was presenting myself as bore no real resemblance to who I really was inside. And now I feel like those things are way closer to each other. Now I feel like for the most part, what people see is what's actually there. I like that you don't throw tantrums like many other LGBT streamers I talk to. Well, you have to keep in mind some of that is just honestly, some of that is just in furtherance of getting views and attention. You know, like if I wanted to, I could get really fucking mad right now and I could pretend to be way up in arms about this and way more passionate about it than I actually fucking am. And you know what? The views are probably going to go up as a result of my being elevated and my getting all fucking indignant and pretending to be really fucking pissed about something, even though I haven't even clarified what I'm fucking pissed about. I bet you that the fucking views start going up here in a few fucking seconds. And that's sometimes why I think people get in these big old fucking tantrums and get in these big angry fucking attitudes, because that's that fire and brimstone kind of southern preacher kind of act. It's got a place, god damn it. People love an agitator. People love a screamer. People love somebody that can get angry and get passionate, and god damn it, sometimes I can get to that place too. But I don't really feel the need to be that way right now. Okay, it's from a box. It's lemon seed poppy. I put it in a flat pan, spread peanut butter on it, slapped it in the freezer for 5 minutes, and it's great. Ooh, that does sound pretty good, actually. That sounds pretty yummy. I hope that you will find out in your heart. Oh my God, dude. How many more comments in my life am I going to have to read from Jesus freaks that are convinced that if they just say the right combination of words at the right time, that they are going to fucking convert me in real time? That I'm going to come away from the conversation being a Christian. Well, I subscribed only to talk to you, but you are chill, so I will stay subscribed. Nice. Well, look at that, you know? And that's how I've built my community here. That's like, sure, there are probably like I'd say there's a good half of my subscriber base that are just people that like to hate on me and stay subbed specifically so they can. But I would say the other half are people who genuinely like listening to the conversations. A lot of them don't always have time to stop in. A lot of them don't always have time to participate. But I think I've started to gather to myself a genuinely tight-knit community full of people that are interested in having conversations that are interesting about topics that are not always easy to bring up with people in your everyday life. Topics that a lot of people don't even have that much patience for, frankly. Can you tell me why you do not like God? I didn't say anything about not liking God. I just don't like Christians. And the reason I don't like Christians is because I see too much hypocrisy in the church. You know, I grew up in a very generous church. I grew up in a church that helped people. But that church doesn't exist anymore. And the church that I look around at, the churches that I see every day, they do so little. And the Christians that I see do so little. They defend their right to gain endlessly. They defend their right to consume endlessly. They defend their right to demean the homeless and the poor and the impoverished. But that's not what Jesus did. As a great Mahatma Gandhi once said, I like your Christ. It is your Christians I take issue with. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ. I can make a chocolate creme brulee from scratch. Ooh, that's a good skill to have. Creme brulees are pretty hard. I've actually never tried to make one. I have not actually experimented that much with desserts, I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I have quite a sweet tooth, but I think part of my sweet tooth is, like, a lot of my sweet tooth is, like, hung up on, like, processed shit and bullshit like that. And so I have yet to learn how to make a lot of the things that I really like. Like, I don't know how to make a cheesecake. I'm sure I could whip one up. Like, I'm really fucking good at following a recipe. Like, you give me any recipe, like, give me a recipe and I can usually do it. You know, I'm a pretty good cook, but desserts are just not my forte. I've spent the least amount of time learning about them compared to anything else. But I tell you what, you want a good ass barbecue? Give me a barbecue item and I will tell you the best way to make it. It's me, a furry. Why are furries unacceptable? Euphoria? Well, I feel the LGBT community has only alienated me and people like me who need direct answers. I mean, I'm autistic too, and I can understand where you're coming from in that a lot of people don't want to give super direct answers to what are considered difficult questions at this point. But you also have to understand, Euphoria. You have to understand where people are coming from, right? People are so on the defensive right now, and if you look around at the rhetoric that opposes the queer community, you can kind of see why. Euphoria. Have you ever heard of a man named Matthew Shepard? A furry at work was pretending they were a 13-year-old girl in a business meeting. Uh, don't you think that that's more of a condemnation of that individual than the fucking group as a whole? Like, Elon Musk is autistic and is currently, well, not currently, but spent the last 6 months fucking over the country. Does that mean that all autistics are doomed to fuck up the country? Seems kind of silly to me. All furries are like that, exactly. In fact, I would say most furries are not like that. Now, maybe furry is kind of a kink community in some ways. Like, maybe there should be limits on it to some degree, but furries are fine, in my opinion. I'm cool with furries. But, Euphoria, you said you've never heard of Matthew Shepard? Matthew Shepard was hung on a fence post, literally crucified on a fence in the 90s. The 90s. It was 96, I think. Matthew Shepard was crucified on a fence out in the middle of God's great nowhere because he was gay. Martha Johnson was killed almost certainly because she was trans. The Pulse shooting, the Colorado City shooting. Do I need to go through more of it? Rhetoric against queer people and anger with queer people has created a very, very, very tense environment. And so a lot of times when people ask questions about gender identity and things like that, a lot of queer people, not me, but a lot of queer people assume that someone is automatically trying to be bigoted. And so they respond in a way that is perhaps untoward, you know? But, I really do. I plead with you to understand where they're coming from. That is evil and wrong. My uncle told me how him and his buddy put a gay guy on a pool table and beat him with pool balls. See what I mean? And every little small town in America has a story like the ones we were talking about, Euphoria. And that's why I think it's so important to be understanding when you have these conversations, right? It's like, because it's one thing to say that certain members of the queer community have alienated some regular people by making it harder to understand where we're coming from, but you just, I really do plead with you to keep in mind why that is. I plead with you to keep in mind that doesn't come from nowhere. Hey, it's like my personal philosophy. If folks is old enough to be considered not too weird if they're down, if I'm down. Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry that Christians are like that today. Yeah, me too, because I think that Christianity actually could be a platform for real, meaningful, genuine change. I think that Christianity actually lays out a pretty fucking good recipe for a socialist world. But we have to enact that world first. And that's going to require God's people getting really serious about enacting the message of Christ. I don't agree with that, but I don't agree with sexual narcissism where everyone has to think the same as them. If you stick with that message, I think you'll reach more like me. With what message? The message I was just saying? Yeah, see, so you might disagree with me, but you can also see why the alternative position isn't much better either, right? But either way, I hope that your conversation with me here today has proved that not all queer people are the same when it comes to answering these questions. I hope that it has disproved the stereotype in your mind. Because if there's one of me, there's more of me. And I really do think that a lot of it is understandable. I think that a lot of it, like, you have to understand how much media manipulation plays into the rhetoric of everybody right now. People are so on edge. People are so on edge, not just because of things that are actually happening, but because of the slant that the media puts on everything. And that's a big part of why things sound the way they do right now. Yes, it has. I actually have a trans friend. It's just the majority seem to be on edge, like you say. Yeah, exactly. They're on edge. They're on edge because a lot of trans people, myself included, we feel like we're on the defense right now. Now, Euphoria, I bet you'll like this. I bet you'll like what I have to say. Me, I recognize that I stand a way higher chance of convincing people if I actually engage with genuine questions. If I actually engage with someone asking what I perceive to be a good faith question, I stand a way higher chance of convincing those people than if I respond with derision, right? And so I choose to behave that way. So when somebody comes in with what I know to be derision, yeah, I'm derisive back towards them. But when somebody comes in with, like, the way you worded it was very, very, very fucking kind. The way you worded it was very understanding and nuanced. You know, it was like, I don't remember exactly how you worded it. Let me look at channel activity and I can read it out. Let me see. So yeah, the question that you said, where I actually noticed your account and started responding to you directly, was what does being trans and dressing different do for you? I'm autistic and I'm being genuine. That was a very nuanced way to ask that question in a way that made it clear it wasn't just derision. And then have you ever thought you just need some positive support and attention, and this group offered that for you? See, I didn't throw a tantrum. I did respond, like, directly, right? You remember, I responded with what you might have perceived as annoyance or something like that, but I didn't throw a tantrum. I didn't get all up in arms about it or anything. I answered the question as best I could, and then we moved on, Now, I will say this much. Your first comment in this stream, which I did not see, was it literally starts off with "you're cooked." So if I wanted to be petty, I could say you didn't exactly start this conversation on the best foot. Like you want to talk about, like, if I was going to be petty, I could point out that it's kind of hypocritical to talk about LGBTQ people being respectful and everything, and all that, but then you start the conversation off by telling somebody they're cooked. So like you started it off on an aggro foot, But we're past that now. Yes, and your ability to remain calm is your greatest strength. Do you understand why being gay was a sin and what sin means in its original language? It means to miss the mark and the results. Yeah, I understand why. I think I understand maybe why ancient Bronze Age mythos kind of views homosexuality as wrong, but I don't think that it bears much relevance in the modern day. I think that whether being gay is a sin or not, I don't even think it matters within the context of Christianity, because we are all sinners according to Christianity. Like, according to the Bible, we are all, as human beings, united in that, if nothing else, right? I got in on the part of you insulting Christians, so I think we were even. Well, technically where you jumped in was me saying that, oh, well, no, I guess I kind of was insulting Christians. Well, let me put it this way. The things I was saying about Christians, I could have said in a way that was not insulting, but that would have still been truthful. For example, I think that it is wrong for Christians to be pushy with their religious beliefs on their children the way so many Christians are. Maybe not all Christians, but enough Christians to make it something that I find kind of noxious, right? Now, that's not insulting. How can you possibly perceive that as insulting? That's my opinion on a particular expression of behavior, Anyway, I'm probably going to have to go here in a minute because my phone's dying and it's been about 2 hours. So that's about where we usually end. So I agree, my parents made me atheist and Satanist, but I found God on my own later. Yeah, dude, not me. I was raised in Christianity. I was raised nominally Pentecostal, I guess. I went to church with my grandma until I was 13. And then I started having nightmares about hell. And my mom was like, hey, you don't have to believe in God if you don't want to. You don't have to believe in hell if you don't want to, but you still want to believe in God. Because the way I was raised, hell is a grave. Because my mom was raised Jehovah's Witness. She got out of being a JW very quickly after she became an adult, but, huh? Oh, sorry, she's talking to her dog. Anyway, but, she still generally agrees with the idea that if hell exists, it's just a grave. So, I'm going to go in just a second. I'm not quite gone yet. But he was raised Baptist. I'm saying I rebelled. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Now I see what you're saying. Ow. Does one become this way because they can't get women, so they have to become one? Reverse back in the stream far enough, and you'll literally see my female partner walking away from me. I say female because I know that's what matters to you types. They're gender fluid. Well, I gotta go too. It was a pleasure speaking and debating. Well, we didn't debate. We had a little bit of an argument. We had a discussion. We had a conversation. But a debate is a structured, formal atmosphere with a moderator, time limits, and agreed upon topics. That is not what we engaged in. But we did engage in a pretty fun and interesting conversation. So I'm going to give it like 2 more minutes. So if anybody wants to send any last super chats, if you've enjoyed the conversation up till now and you want to show some support to the channel, now is your time to do it before we head out. And if you haven't done so already, please hit that like button and please hit that subscribe and the little bell. That'll make sure you see these in the future. And if you've sat around all this time, you definitely want to see them. So go ahead and hit those buttons. Go back in the closet. How about you fucking make me, bitch? How about you fucking make me, bitch? True. I hope you subscribe, Euphoria. I think you'll like hanging out here. You strike me as the kind of person who will have plenty to disagree with me on, but plenty that you find totally agreeable as well. Haha, get him. Thank you. I try my best, you know? Try my best. I really do. No, but I will send my last fuck you. Fuck you, Phoebes. I'm just playing. You know I love you. I love that. Rihanna just hit me on a text. Last night I left hickeys on her neck. Wait, you just dissed me? I'm perplexed. Insult me on a line, compliment me on the next. Damn, I'm really sorry you want me to have a heart attack. Was watching 8 Mile on my North track. Realized I forgot to call you back. Here's that autograph for your daughter. I wrote it on a starter cap. Stan, son, listen, Dad isn't mad, but how you gonna name yourself after a damn gun and have a man bun? The giants woke, eyes open undeniable, supplying smoke, got the fire stove. Say you got me in a scope, but you grazed me. I say we'll call it in a scope, and you're Swayze. You reply, got the crowd yelling, woo, so before you die, let's see who can out-petty who with your quarter line. Some-year-old Al Kelly, ooh, but I'm 45, and I'm still outselling you. By 29, I had 3 albums that was new. Now let's talk about something I don't really do. Going someone started mouth stealing food, but you're a fucking molehill. I'ma make a mountain out of you. Ho, chill, lacking like you put the chrome barrel to my bone marrow. Shut up, bitch, you ain't a bow and arrow. Bow and arrows. Spraying lead, playing dead. That's the only time you hold still. Are you eating Wheaties or Cheerios? What the fuck's in the bowl of milk? Wait, what's the line? I don't remember the line. Damn it. I'm okay at rapping. Really, that one is not my best example. Here, I'll try a better one. Y'all know me, still the same OG, but I've been low-key, hated on by all these niggas with no cheese, no wheels and no G's, no deals, no boats, no snowmobiles and no skis. Mad at me because I can finally afford to provide my family with groceries. Got a crib with a studio and it's all full of tracks to add to the wall full of plaques. Hanging up in the office in the back of my house like trophies. Y'all think I'm gonna let my dough freeze? Oh please, you better bow down on both knees. Who you think taught you to smoke trees? Who you think brought you the ODs? Eazy-E's, Ice Cubes and DOCs, the Snoop D-O-double-G's, and a group that said, motherfuck the police. Gave you a tape for the dope beast to bump when you stole through in your hood. When your album sales wasn't doing too good, who's the doctor that told you to go see? Y'all better listen up closely. All you niggas that say that I turn pop or the firm flop, y'all the reason that Dre ain't been getting no sleep. So fuck y'all, all of y'all. If y'all don't like me, blow me. Y'all gonna keep fucking around with me and turn me back to the old me. Nowadays, everybody want to talk, but they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move the lips. Just a bunch of gibberish. And motherfuckers act like they forgot about Dre. Nowadays, everybody want to talk, but they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move the lips. Just a bunch of gibberish. And motherfuckers act like they forgot about Dre. Wheaties are Cheerios, because I'm taking a shit in them, Kelly. I need reading material. Dictionary. To my fellow Christians, before I go, stop pushing the gospel while pretending you're sinless. Don't preach, connect. Thank you, Euphoria. Thank you. Alrighty, and with that, hey Phoebe, do you know how old transgenderism is? Old as the hills. It's been around as long as human civilization has been around, as far as we know. Anyway, with that, I am going to go. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you hanging out, and I will talk to you guys later.